I wrote Mother's Day Memories several years ago when my mother was still alive, but the Alzheimer's was pretty severe. And I wrote it as a tribute to her and to her love. Even though her memories were gone, her love was still there. I wrote it as a 6-page script for an online unit of Hallmark, and they were featuring short films of about that length. They had it in development meetings for a while. They had me add another character, the character of the caregiver, which I did. They kicked it around some more. They didn't do anything with it. So finally, at some point, I decided to produce it myself. I had never produced a film before. I had never written a film that got produced. So this was a first time thing. And I started reading what I could, talking to people who knew this field, who'd done this, people who might be interested in becoming involved with this project, and building a little team, building a group of people who were interested in working with me. One of those was Matthew Michael Ross, the director. And Jody was, what an excellent choice to play the role of mother. Kat, who plays the role of my wife, Michelle, was referred by Matthew, and Conrad was referred by Kat. So there's some really veteran talent here, and I just have to, I guess, express appreciation, and I'm glad that they did such a great job and everybody pulled together. The crew were amazing. The costume designer, Dorothy, I knew, and I knew her because she's married to my cousin, Michael. So there's a pretty tight family, actually, in some ways. My wife, Allison, worked as the production coordinator for the project, and there was just a lot of talent coming together for a common purpose. I did write a statement of unity, a statement of purpose about what we were all about. And I asked Matthew if he would read that our very first day on set, which he did. It was just gathering people around, silence, and then he read this statement that I'd written, which I think kind of coalesced people into a feeling of purpose, a sense that we were doing something bigger than just telling a story, that there was a universal quality to the story that we were telling.
So Bill Hoversten, who co-wrote the script with me and stars in the film, we were talking about working together. We had worked on a project before that, and he showed me the Mother's Day Memories project. And when I found out that he had his own personal experience, his own mother had unfortunately had Alzheimer's, I was really intrigued by the idea and wanted to work with Bill. And it was really an interesting story, and I felt compelled to help tell the story. Once you get into working with your team, and for instance with the cinematographer, you start talking about colors and you start talking about the idea of how we're going to tell the story. And I remember, for instance, Keith and I talked about whenever we see the mother, because her mind is kind of fluid and her memories are kind of waxing and waning, that we would always have her with a floating camera. It was never going to be like on sticks on a tripod. But whenever we saw Bill, who played the son, or any other characters, we would be stable. That was one interesting thing that we talked about at the beginning. The other thing that I just absolutely loved was when we got to the point where we wanted to get into the mother's mind. Like, what is it like to have your memories slip away from you? we talked about a certain technique using the lens actually off of the camera. It's kind of bizarre. The lens and the camera are actually separated, and it causes these incredible flares, and the focus gets a little bit, muddy. And we decided to use that to kind of go into the mother's mind.
Oh, wow. How did I prepare for this role? Well, let's start from my own personal life. My mom had dementia after a stroke. So I started learning how that dynamic can affect the way somebody thinks. And I don't think she even, near the end, even knew who I was. I mean, I think to her I was just this kind woman who showed up every day and put on some great music and wheeled her around to dance, so to speak, and then sing songs to her and such. But I'm not sure that she knew who I was. And of course, there's no way to find out now. My dad, who lived in Illinois, not together with my mom, and I could only see once in a blue moon. I tried to coordinate his caregiving and such, and the caregivers would go ahead and call me or text me and ask me who so-and-so was. That was his uncle. And they said, well, he was talking to him or saying he was coming over, and we had never heard of this person. I said, well, he's been dead a long time. And different things like that would be happening. So that was really awkward, not getting to be with him and kind of keeping tabs on memory. And I said, well, put my CD on and play for him so that he'd hear my voice and my singing and such. So I don't know if that helped. Maybe a little comfort. I don't know. Then I had all of that experience as far as a little bit, not living with the Alzheimer's all the way through, like Mother's Day Memories was showing through Bill's story. But prior to doing Mother's Day Memories, I did Fragile Storm with Lance Henriksen. He played my husband and caregiver, and I was full blown on as far into Alzheimer's, I believe, that you could go until the end. So for that, even with my own personal self and life experience, I got on Google and I watched umpteen zillion very painful some videos of families that shared their experience, or, bless their hearts, were videotaping their family as they went. So I kind of knew what to expect. But I'll tell you what, doing Mother's Day Memories with Bill was hauntingly exhilarating. As far as what I might say to people that are living with it right at this moment, and I have known a dear friend of mine who just had lost her husband a couple of years ago, and it was she's still having a hard time because she found herself how do I say it? She found herself hating this person that her husband had become. Not hating him, but this kind of alien representation of him. And of course it now haunts her, some of the things that she said to him, or the irritation she would have because she was just so angry that this was happening to him and taking him away, not only from her, but from himself. Like in Mother's Day Memories, I say, where are my memories? Where are they? So families that are going through it, oh, please, dear God, don't take it personal. And realize any reaction that you have, be it loving, nurturing, caring, or the opposite. Please don't judge yourself. You're human, and this is such an ugly, horrible disease. So I meant, if you're going through it, or you're fearing that you may go through it, check out some information, check out some videos, check out these films. Why I think a mother and son relationship seems to be so special or different than maybe with a daughter is because I think the son from childhood feels very protective towards his mother. And she realizes that too. And as a male, he wants to shield her from harm, always. Golly, I don't know. I guess it's an instinctual male to protect the female kind of energy or mode or instincts. Maybe that's it. And with this disease especially, he couldn't do anything. So he feels so helpless. And she, being his mother and feeling like she needs to protect him too, of course, feels his pain and realizes that she can't protect him.
Alzheimer's is a serious issue in this particular generation, and I was thinking about what it would be like to be married and have my wife forget who I am, or forget things of the romantic times of our life, or forget, because I know we've been married, my personal wife and I have been married 53 years. And I was thinking, what are the things that she would have forgotten? Or even if I had Alzheimer's, what would I have forgotten when I would look at her and not know who she is and think she was some stranger? And so I was relating to how fortunate I am in my family. I've never had any Alzheimer's in my family. And I was thinking of other families, and I was thinking of how to relate to the script. I know that in the script, I lose my patience on the phone with my son, i.e. you, in that, the religion will take care of it. But I just, you wonder how you would handle that relationship, because all of a sudden you're dealing not with a stranger, but with a person who becomes strange. And not from your point of view, but from their point of view, when they don't even know who you are, and you're trying to explain to them who you are, who you've been for the number of years, and here you are, a total stranger in your own home. So that's how I think it must affect families.
Well, first of all, it was the story, the fact it was based on a true story. And I'm attracted to issue films anyway, as an actress and a producer, and let's say movies with a message. And I really like the serious nature of the role of Michelle. I mean, for me, she's the voice of reason in the piece, and plus, I had done so much comedy, even filming a dramedy, which was mostly comedy based, when I was offered the role. So it was a change of pace to play a dramatic role. I was very happy to do it, and I think it's the kind of role that I would like to play more often. The support of family members and loved ones is crucial in dealing with Alzheimer's disease. And I know there's a lot of new research being done that sheds light on that, and a lot of new treatments. And I do believe that women are at the forefront of a lot of the new groundbreaking treatments in Alzheimer's and in dementia. And with the case of Mother's Day Memories, the lead character is a woman struggling with Alzheimer's. And I'm not saying that men don't struggle with it, but I do feel somehow that it does affect women maybe more predominantly than men, or at least I know that a lot of the research groups are women-based. The leadership there is all female, the ones that are really on the forefront of the new technologies. And I also think that family members are so important, because a lot of times when a loved one has Alzheimer's or dementia, they'll have a caregiver care for them. And sometimes the caregiver maybe becomes more important to them than their own family. And that's wrong, I think, because I think that, their family should be still the most important unit in their lives. So I think that the families need to pay more attention to the signs and symptoms, that somebody may have that, and make sure that they're tested and accepted, and not live in denial. Well, I think cinema is the most important medium in the world to deliver these messages. Cinema or television or any visual medium that gets the messages out. And I believe that films really can make people think and change. That's why I started my cinema series, Kat Kramer's Films That Changed the World, which is celebrating its 10th anniversary. And I present socially conscious films and documentaries that give filmmakers a voice, primarily new filmmakers, but I've had a few classic films as well, and examining the issues where we are now at this point in history from when the films were made. And for the ones I have coming up, those are all, for the most part, new films, new documentaries. And my theme is actually Sheroes for Change, films about women made by women. So that's just another example of what the power of cinema can bring to the consciousness and shift the consciousness. And I think it's because my father, Stanley Kramer, was known as the voice of consciousness or conscience in Hollywood, and he made 35 socially conscious award-winning films. Many of them are classics that not only changed the way that we view these issues and made people think, but they helped change laws. For example, like in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. So exploring social issues in film is part of my family legacy. It's also in my DNA. And I just think that right now, more than ever, is the powerful time to really tell stories that can make change. And I think it's a great time for filmmakers to raise awareness and shift the consciousness towards change with many issues that we need to deal with, I think more than ever.
There's no question about the power of cinema. As a matter of fact, when you called, I was in the middle of watching Sounder. I hadn't seen Sounder for a number of years, and I had the privilege of meeting Cicely Tyson when I was governor of the Academy, and had an incredible evening with her. And I'm watching it now, and I'm just relating to it like, what it must have been like in the South. It must have been horrible and terrible. So that's the power of cinema, to give us back that those impressions that we weren't aware of, or that we can become aware of, and also the power of the story, the power of the characters within the story. And I think that with what you did with the script, Bill, was really, I mean, I thought you wrote an exceptional script. I thought it was very powerful. It was very pointed, and it ripped your heart out. I mean, I can remember, even that short time that I was there, how I felt in those scenes. And so when you have the power of film in storytelling, that comes across into the audience, into the spectator, and you go home with a message. It either makes your life better or it doesn't. As a kid, I can remember my mother loved musicals. And so we were always constantly going downtown and going to movies and watching musicals. The only negative thing I remember about it was these ladies in the 40s who wore those big hats. And here was this little kid sitting behind them trying to watch the movie. And they would move and I'd be dodging back and forth and trying to go around them. And, finally, one day I reached up and tapped the lady on the shoulder. And I said, "Would you mind taking your hat off?" My mother says, "Conrad, what are you doing?" I said, "I can't see the movie." Anyway, we were always going to movies. No, I think film is extremely, and by the way, for that reason is why I have a very successful film festival here in Louisville. Louisville's International Festival of Film. We're in our 13th year this year. Of course, last year we were virtual. Hopefully we can be live again this year. But I think it's a very powerful medium.
The festival circuit it's a bizarre thing. I kind of liken it to what it must be like for famous movie stars and filmmakers, that they go on a press junket for like a year or 6 months after they made a film. Like, you're done making the art form, and now you're kind of selling it, for 6 months or a year. And I think the festival circuit is kind of the same thing for independent filmmakers. You make this, that you make this art piece, and you want people to see it, and it's not bought yet. So it's not going to be on a streaming service or in the movie theater. So you apply to these film festivals, and over the year, you get accepted, and you go to certain ones, and certain ones you don't, and you hope for the big ones. But I think they're still the same as they've always been, an outlet. I wish they were a little bit more affordable, to be honest with you. I remember, for instance, when I went to the Cannes Film Festival, there was no entry fee for the biggest film festival in the world, and yet you've got these smaller film festivals that are charging $75 for a short film. I think that's a bit of a problem.
And I said, I want to do this by the books. I'm going to be a producer. Let me be top of the rung, a SAG signatory producer. The guy costs money, and it's a ton of paperwork and time. And they assign a person to you at SAG, and you work with that person, and you've got all this paperwork. In addition, I decided to have an insurance company and a payroll company, professional companies that would handle things too. So that increases the cost. It increases the paperwork. Another thing I decided to do was to pay the actors up front. Now, there was an option that SAG would give a producer. It could be deferred pay, and usually that means that the actors get stiffed. They don't get a cent, but they worked as a deferred. Well, I thought, the heck with that. I've had enough bad experiences of that. As an actor, I want to make it something that people will appreciate. So I paid everybody up front as a SAG producer. So I set up an Uber business account. I was able to order cars to come to their homes and pick them up, bring them back, free transportation. And they liked that. It was the first time Jody had been in an Uber, I believe. It was definitely the first time Conrad had been in an Uber. And they pretty much liked the experience. So I got some pleasure out of providing these benefits to my fellow actors. We premiered at LA Shorts International Film Festival in Los Angeles. What a great experience that was. Everybody was there. We had just a ton of people. We packed the theater. That was the very first one. It was the perfect premiere. And there were other film festivals too that were notable and memorable. Chelsea in New York. Wow. They only took 100 films that year in 2019. 25 of those were features, 75 were shorts. And we were one of the shorts. But keep in mind, they were getting films from 25 different countries. So if you consider that Mother's Day Memories, out of 25 countries, it was chosen from the United States. Some others were chosen from the US too, but it has an international cachet as a result of being an official selection for that festival. Good festivals, Louisville, wonderful. We were at, and Conrad is the founder of the Louisville Film Festival. I like to think that it became an official selection there, not just because of his influence, although you'd have to talk to him about that. We also were at Niagara Falls. We were at the LA Real Independent Film Festival, the California Women's Film Festival, and also at Idlewild International Festival of Cinema. So that was a really special one too, where we won an Indie Spirit Award. My experience with public relations has been more recent, so I was referred to a woman named Patricia Chica, who spends part of her time in Canada and part in LA, as an expert who could help with my publicizing my submission for consideration for the Academy Awards. I was referred to her by a London-based film publicist that I met at Idlewild, and she referred me to Patricia, and Patricia has helped me strategize the putting together of my electronic press kit, all the information, questions. It's really almost overwhelming, just the amount of information that gets sent out there, but I've had some great responses from media outlets. So that is a big part of it. She gave me some guidance on submitting the film, and being qualified to be nominated for an Academy Award, that's weighty, that's heavy. Just the whole process of entering, it's crazy. Just what you have to submit, the information, and then they want the film in surround sound. Well, we just made it in stereo, but it was acceptable to these big locations where we played, so they let it slide, thank goodness. So instead of a 3.1, we had a 2.0 sound. At one festival, I remember there were a group of people after the Q&A waiting to come up to talk with me, and there was one guy, he was a big guy, kind of macho, and he waited until nobody else was within earshot, and then he said to me, when the film was playing in the darkness, I cried. It had impacted him in a very strong, a very personal way. That almost made me cry. So I'm glad that the film, I'm glad it has an effect on anybody, any one person, and it's multiplied so many more times over every time someone tells me that they needed their tissues to watch the film.